All right, I'd like to call this May 14th meeting of the Pottsgrove School Board to order. We'll start it with a pledge of allegiance. Face the right flag. I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hopefully our Deputy Secretary will note the roll. We have 2 absent tonight, 7 here. Mr. Park will be joining us late, and Mrs. Custer is not here this evening. So I would like to make an announcement that we had an executive session for personnel prior to this meeting. And for those of you who weren't here at 6 o'clock, you missed an enthralling and invigorating budget hearing meeting on the budget. And we're doing well. We're coming well in line with what we were hoping, and in fact doing even better. So we hope to have good news for you next month when we pass the final budget. And now that brings us already to public comment. Do we have any requests for comment?
Yes, sir.
No requests for comment. But I'll see if there's anybody out there who would care to make any comments. Nothing yet. All right, we'll just move on.
Okay.
Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lingren. Tonight gives me great honor and privilege to really have some presentations and recognitions of some special people within the district. We have 2 students that we'd like to recognize, and a past administrator, teacher, and coach with us here tonight as well, and a presentation by Mr. Adams and his high school environmental club. So I'd like to start out with senior Lexi Knifer. And Lexi, I'll tell you what, I'm going to put you on the spot at your seat. But just stand up, and I'm going to have you come up in a second because I want to read a little blurb here about you. Lexi attends both Pottsgrove High School and the Western Montgomery Career and Technical Center. She is no stranger to the board recognition for art, talents, and design. This year, Lexi was selected as a finalist for the SpongeBob SquarePants T-shirt design contest in October. With her design, she received the opportunity to have her shirt sold online through Hot Topic stores and receive 1.5% of the commission on every shirt. We have the shirt for to show everybody. Actually, she has the shirt on. Some of our members have the shirt on as well. And I'm not going to open this because selfishly I want her to sign it for us so that we can then put this in a frame and present it here and have it in the district office. So without any further ado, we'd like to bring Lexi up and congratulate her on her accomplishment. Yeah, or you could maybe sit at the seat there. That'd be good.
So, I did not plan on actually winning this contest. Every year when we get back from the summer break at the Western Center, my teacher likes to have us enter like small contests, trying to get a refresher on working the computer since we haven't had it all summer. And he's a big fan of SpongeBob, so he's the one that showed me the contest, and I was like, all right, that's a little interesting, because for those of you who don't know, the store Hot Topic, it's mainly targeted at teens, where SpongeBob is more of a kid's show. So I was like, that's a little interesting. I don't know how I'm gonna come up with a design for that, but I ran through all the characters, and I was like, well, Squidward has some pretty dark humor, a little sarcastic, and I was like, that's kind of what teens are into. That's their sense of humor nowadays. It definitely fits the Hot Topic vibe. And so basically, ultimately, it came down to what was my favorite scene of Squidward, and it was the one where he visits a gravestone that says, "Here lies Squidward's hopes and dreams." And I just thought it was the funniest thing. Ironically, though, even though his dreams died, mine sort of came true when I won the contest. I did not expect it. I was astounded by it, and my teacher was very jealous, but he supported me the whole way through, and he emailed everyone when I submitted it to go vote for it, and when I won, he asked everyone to just buy the shirt to help support me, and now we're getting a shirt both framed at the Western Center and now here, so very excited about that.
Great. Thank you very much. Lean forward. Lexi, would you come up and... Yeah, here we go. Good spot for you?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Lexi, I think we've seen you here every year since you started down there at the at Western Center, and you've done it remarkably well, as well have a lot of our students. I was just going to mention, we got some news at the Western Center when we were there for our last board meeting. They had seven people inducted in the National Honor Society at the Western Center this year. Of those 7, 5 of them were from Pottsgrove. Very, very happy with that. So we'll probably mention that again in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, our next recognition tonight is Sarah, if you would stand up, please, and then we'll bring you up for your presentation. Sarah Owensworth, she earned all-state choir recognition from the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association. This process begins in November, and the students must pass through a series of 3 different rounds of auditions to ultimately qualify for the PMEA All-State Choral Festival, which is held in Pittsburgh this spring. Once in Pittsburgh, Sarah auditioned again to earn a new ranking among over 200 of the state's best singers. Sarah placed second in the re-auditions to be the second highest ranked performer of all alto ones in the state of Pennsylvania. She was second out of 36 in the state of PA. Congratulations on that. At the conclusion of the festival, Sarah performed with the entire choral group in a concert at the David Lawrence Convention Center in Pittsburgh. Once again, congratulations, Sarah. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to say a few words about your experience?
Yeah, sure. Of
Great.
course.
Thank you.
Just first of all, I want to apologize for my appearance. I am in the middle of a 6-hour rehearsal because us music kids really do not stop. So I started in Pottsgrove's music program about 10 years ago. I have been auditioning for PMEA for 3 years. I was not successful my sophomore year. Last year I made it to district level, and this year I have had the amazing opportunity to go all the way to states. And I really haven't done that without my music director, Ms. Hendler, who is our choir director. So I first started in the qualifying round, which is the most competitive, and I've ended up placing 4th. And I went there with 3 other students from Pottsgrove. I was the only one to move on from Pottsgrove to the region level. There I placed 1st, and then I placed 2nd going into districts, and then 2nd at districts.
Thank you very much. Our next recognition is a familiar face to the Pottsgrove community. Mr. Jeff Madden, Coach Jeff Madden, was inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame on Sunday, April 28th in Hershey, PA. Jeff has completed his 42nd year of coaching wrestling this past winter. Jeff started out as an assistant coach at Wissahickon High School and moving up to become the head coach and capture 13 Suburban 1 League titles. He moved to Perkiomen Valley after he became a middle school principal, helping Perkiomen Valley as an unpaid assistant. For the last 10 years, he has guided the Falcon program here at Pottsgrove as our head coach. This past year, Jeff captured his 2nd division championship, and the team had a record of 15-8. His career record now stands at 320 wins and 239 losses. And with only 2 seniors graduating from this year's team, expectations are high for next year. Jeff is a Methacton High School graduate and wrestled for 4 years at Boston University. This honor recognizes those individuals for their years of commitment to be a positive role model to student athletes. The class of 2019 has given countless hours of time instilling in young people and skills needed to succeed in all areas of life. Each of the recipients will be permanently recognized at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Congratulations, Jeff. Well deserved. Few words? Absolutely.
First of all, it was quite an honor and it was a little overwhelming. Anyone that was there, and I want to thank Mr. Nestor and Mr. Dorenzo for coming up and seeing it the past Sunday. It was to be involved in the National Hall of Fame is really above my pay grade, my level. You know, I've just done this a long time, and I guess if you do something long enough, people tend to think you're good at it. So I've kind of faked everybody out. So they're kind of thinking I'm doing a good job. But what I'd really like to say is I want to thank the school board. I want to thank the administration, the Pottsgrove community for letting me coach their student athletes. And most of all, you know, now I represent myself and Pottsgrove High School in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. I appreciate this honor.
You don't want, yeah. Part of what makes an area or a school of choice are the people that are there and the people in the community that make up that school and what they bring and what they give. And when you have a coach like Coach Madden, who gives so selflessly and is such an expert at what he does, it makes the community stronger. It's an example. I mean, he's, yes, National Hall of Fame. That's terrific, and very happy about that. And just pleased to be part of it. Pleased that you're here and you're with us and you're part of our staff and part of our community. And you know, for all the other teachers and all the other coaches for all the other sports, it's their sacrifice. It's helping to make our community better, help making our school district better, help making us into that district of choice. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And certainly, last but not least, tonight we have our environmental club and the advisor, Mr. Adams, with us. They're going to talk to us tonight about several projects that have occurred over the last couple years around the high school. So if Mr. Adams, you would come up with your team and introduce everybody, and the floor is yours.
There it is. Yes. So we're here to talk about the Pottsgrove Environmental Club. This is Laura Hoffman, who has been working with me for about 3 years now, involved in most. You'll see her in lots of the pictures. She's been heavily involved. I have Laura Swar and Ben McDonald, who have joined the club this year and have been helped out. You'll see them in pictures and all of that as well. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the projects that we have accomplished over the last couple of years, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the future projects that we have for you. How do I start the next slide?
Just push that.
Okay, just push. Okay, so that's as big as it's going to get. Okay, all righty, so. Go ahead.
So for past projects, yeah, the visitor side parking lot, rain garden, which is like just around the other side.
Actually, you can see it right over there. If you
Yeah,
look
right,
out the window,
yeah.
if you see the big sign out there, that is the rain garden out there.
Yep. So and we were doing a lot of work in the courtyard for the duck pond and making that like look a lot nicer out there. So then it's not just like, because before it was just kind of just there. And we put rain barrels back there to help like water the plants, and it collects all the rainwater from the roof. So then it doesn't just like run off. So then all the funding for the rain gardens came from the 3M Corporation. And they were signed by the Partnership for the Delaware Estuary and the Montgomery County Conservation District. And we got major help from the Building and Grounds Department. And they helped us a whole lot with that. And then they did all the heavy lifting part, like with digging it, and then
That part.
Yep, they did all that. It's great. And then the environmental club just planned everything.
Okay. Thanks. And then the
Okay.
courtyard.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold. But so as you can see, we landscaped and dug out the duck pond, and we have added. We've made that a nice. We added plants, and we're continuing to add to it this year around it, and you can see the nice ducks there, which is
Endlessly fascinating to most of the students.
yes. And here you can see the rain barrels, which we had which the grounds management installed, which provides us with the water for the courtyard, and yeah. And here is the beautification that we've done this year. We've added flowers, we've added mulch, which we've been doing recently, and we have been using an electric lawnmower, which reduces noise and so that it doesn't disturb the ducks.
And as for future projects, we'll be adding rain gardens to several areas. One of them being the school lane right there. And near that area, we have gullying, which is a type of erosion. They're like deep ditches in the ground by running water from a prolonged amount of rain. And so what we'll do is we'll plant trees there so we can prevent the soil from being damaged by any other future rain, and it'll help reduce the rate of erosion. And then Ringing Rocks area, by there we have an area where we have like trouble, the ground staff has trouble mowing the lawns, so there we'll just instead plant trees, and also the trees will also help soak up the water from the ground. And we have a turf area where simply there's just no life there, so we'll just add trees to give some life to that empty ground. And we have some tree planting sites where we can plant the trees. We have quite a few. So we have the hillside by the Ringing Rocks, the cafeteria entrance in the front of the school, the gym entrance, and the turf field. And we are aware of the whole window situation and planting the trees near the windows for like security. And all the plants were provided from the PPL via the Montgomery Conservation site. And that's it.
Any questions?
Dr. Zig, we could get this on the high school website?
Yeah, we can do that.
Great.
You should have the link to this.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank everybody tonight for coming, for your awards and recognition, as well as the presentations. The board really supports it and appreciates your time and efforts. Moving on to Section 5, approval of the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 5, approval of minutes, 5.1 and 5.2.
Second. We have a motion and a second from Mrs. Grimm, Mr. Leach, for approval of the minutes of the two meetings, 5.1 and 5.2. Are there any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
I move that we accept the high school accounts, middle school accounts, and cafeteria accounts as presented. Come on.
We have a motion and a second, Mrs. Grimm and Mr. Leach, to accept all of the accounts for approval. For the high school, middle school, and cafeteria, are there any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
I move that we approve the payments of invoices in the amount of $4,227,056.87 for April 2019 as presented.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Leach and a second from Mr. Lappick to approve, to grant the orders. Are there any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
I move that we approve the treasurer's report for April 2019 as presented and file it for audit.
So moved.
You can second it, right?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion from Mr. Grimm and a second from Mr. Leach to approve the treasurer's report. Are there any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All right, very good. And report of the superintendent.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to have our student board reps, Savannah Lear and Brianna Mayberry, please provide us with our monthly update. Ladies?
Okay, so on April 15th, Savannah and I went to West Pottsgrove to do a Falcon feedback session with a group of second graders. We asked them what Pottsgrove does great and what Pottsgrove can do better. So in response to the first question, the students said that the school has really good lunches, they have a nice gym, they like the library, they have super fun assemblies, they like that they get awards for being good, they like recess, indoor and outdoor, they love their teachers, they enjoy their specials, especially art, they like STEAM Day, they like brain breaks, they have really good snacks in the cafeteria, they like the art shows, and they really enjoy field day. And in response to the second question, they want to be able to use the science trail, which would need to be cleaned up for them to explore it. They want to play in the grass at recess. They want more basketball, soccer balls, and jump ropes. They think the slides need to be replaced. They want more events at field day. They would like to sit wherever they want at lunch. They would like to go on more interesting field trips. There aren't enough iPads for all of the kids to use at once, and they want days to bring in their own electronics. They don't like having to owe recess for talking at lunch. They wish teachers would give out more golden tickets. They said each classroom should have a vacuum cleaner, and they really want a trampoline and a pool. And just as the end of the year is approaching, many senior events are coming up. So the senior picnic is on May 24th. The senior trip is May 28th to June 1st. Senior awards are on June 3rd. The senior walk and the senior sports banquet are on June 4th, and graduation is on June 7th.
All right, I got a quick question. Probably not going to be for you guys, but it's going to probably be for Dr. Shirk, and I don't know if anybody's here from elementary school. The two things that stand out to me were the need for more basketball, soccer balls, and jump rooms. Do we not have enough? If we don't, bring it to the board, we'll vote for it and give you more.
The kids go through them significantly, and we do try to maintain and keep them. We do have different events in all three buildings to raise funds for those, so I don't think it's something that we necessarily. The other thing too is, when they don't use jump ropes properly, they don't get to use jump ropes, so that's part of it too. It's that teaching the students to make sure that they're playing with the equipment properly and safely. But no, we're good. Thank you, Mr. Leach.
Our PTA is also very supportive in providing additional materials.
Yeah.
All right, the only other thing I had a question about was one more interesting field trips. Do we actually schedule field trips for the elementary? Like what?
So at Ringing Rocks, each grade level takes at least one field trip a year. Our kindergartners traditionally go to the farm because that's part of their social studies community. Community is part of their social studies curriculum. First grade go to the zoo because that connects with their science curriculum. And then second grade, it varies each year. This year they're going to the Da Vinci Science Center, which also will connect with our new FOSS science curriculum.
Tying in with that, I was just curious, did they give you any hints as far as what they deemed as more interesting? Or is it just a blanket?
Not really. I think they want more in general, but like
They don't really care.
when they
really
get
what
to
it is.
play and around, not,
They're second grade, so yeah. Thank you.
I wanted to ask about the science trail. Can you tell us more about that?
I'm glad you asked. I have spoken to Mr. Adams, and I'm going to see if the environmental club would be interested in going and seeing if they can do any work on the trails to clean it up for the kids. So that's something that I'm talking to him about right now.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 10, discussion items. Dr. Harney and I have two updates for you this evening. One is on Social Sentinel, and then one is on our Act 44, and Dr. Harney is our safety and security coordinator for the district. In your packets tonight, I do have some statistics, and Joe, I do have one for you when it's all said and done. Thank you, sir. You bet. And I just there's a the 180-day look back. Mr. Bicker and I looked at the 360, but Social Sentinel started with us in July, so there really wasn't a good picture of what July and August looked like. So we did a 180-day look, and if you look at the first page, and remember, Social Sentinel monitors the social media that is present. Would you like? Here you go. I have an extra.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, okay. Just the Social Sentinel monitors our social media. And for the last 180 days, there was 105,000 hits. And the alert ratio is a ratio that we get was not 1%, so we got about 500 hits on that particular alert post that people might post. So those words and that word, if there's a guns being used, kill, murder, hate, any acts of violence that words that you could think of, things are triggered, and our district team gets. Also, they added images to that as well, so there was over 7,200 images, and with that particular alerts there, they came at 0.28 a day. So we did a couple image alerts, and then we also had some alerts that also from discussions, as you can see there across the board. And as you go through, it just sort of gives you information on particular posts and the activities on those particular days, on alerts that were received from the district. You can see the number as they move through, and images scanned. And then you can see on the very last page, next to last page, I'm sorry, you can see some things that were hot topics on social media. So if you take a look at the blue, obviously Easter Sunday in Pottstown, there was a shooting. That made a lot of sense to us. Our threat that we had here with the high school student here at Pottsgrove, the Colorado shooting. So obviously those were hot topics in social media those days that were brought to our attention as well. And then an interesting stat that was brought up by the Social Sentinel was U.S. student sentiment. And you can see from December until now how students across the country on social media are feeling. They're feeling happy, they're feeling in harm, they fear, they have anger. And you can see at the end of March, beginning of April, there's some issues there going on across the country that might have had to do with some of the events that occurred throughout our land, if you will. The Social Sentinel piece that I really want to share with you that, and I mentioned to you this last time, Dr. Harney's going to go over this, it's a layer of protection for our kids. It's a $2,000 expense. And this year, we had 4 hits out of this group that were of danger to themselves and self-injury and possible suicide. So I know it's only, I'm not going to say it, it's only 4, but it's worth every cent of those 4. So my recommendation would be to continue because we didn't know how well it would be formed. But when it led us to talking to our school resource officer, our building principal at the high school and middle schools that helped us funnel information to them that wasn't part of the other layers of defense, if you will. I saw value in that immediately. We'll continue to look, we buy this from the IU, so we do get a discounted rate going through the IU. I'd like to continue to monitor it. They continue to enhance. I know they're looking at trying to get, Instagram and Snapchat, some of those other pieces that are more prevalent to kids today that are out there, not just, the Facebook and Twitter and those things. So as they get better, it'll help us get better. But I do feel it's worth the expenditure, and I can honestly say that it affected 4 families. That it could have been a negative piece, but it turned out to be a positive because they got the help and support that they needed. So I just wanted to share that with you tonight, and I'll be asking for your support later on to continue with this project and continue to monitor it. And I just wanted to kick that off, and then. Any questions regarding Social Sentinel before I turn it over to Dr. Harney?
Hey, just a quick question.
Sure.
In regards to the page where it talks about alerts received.
Yeah.
Now, each one of those is just an alert. Does the administration then see the actual post?
Yes.
So you can actually see the post and read everything?
Absolutely, yeah. So during the Masters, Tiger Woods killed it. Alert.
Oh, okay.
Alert. So so that kind of stuff comes up in something like that piece. But it also it branches out to the other end of that piece where I'm not having a good day, things aren't going good, I think I might hurt myself, I don't know what to do. So those types of pieces we monitor, is all part of that, Mr. Leach. Yeah.
Okay.
The discussions. Get off. Discussions, I was just curious what the discussions was referring to.
Just a series of discussions back and forth. Jim and Bill, Mark.
Okay, on the social media as opposed to, okay, all right.
Someone might
As opposed to a single declaration.
might have something to say, correct?
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep, you got it. Okay, great. Doctor?
This is all public information. We don't have access to anybody's information.
Correct.
It's all public.
This is public.
All right.
Yep.
So I'm going to sit over here because I can better control the PowerPoint from here because I can see it without having my back to everyone. So I thought this might, no. So this is actually going to be our first annual Pottsgrove School District Safety Report. Why are we giving the report? I'm going to give you the basics on Act 44, which was passed last summer on June 22nd. It added a new section to the school code entitled School Safety and Security, and it mandated the appointment of a school safety coordinator, which is my position, one of my duties. It set mandatory safety training guidelines for school personnel. It created the Safe to Say Something program, which I'll go into a little bit more detail. It also created a statewide committee through the PA Commission on Crime and Delinquency. So this committee was a statewide committee, and it developed criteria to assess school safety, and I'll talk a little bit more about our plans around a safety assessment later in the presentation. It issued a survey to all school entities to review all areas of school safety. And a big piece this year, it administered and dispersed $60 million in fund grants that I will talk about a little bit later, that we were successful in securing some of those funds. So the safety coordinator position, the responsibilities are to serve as a liaison to the state agencies, law enforcement, and other organizations, to review the district's policies and procedures. And we are working right now with the assistance of PSBA, who are starting to gather all of the pertinent policies and kind of look at them in bulk for us to consider in bulk. Oversee the resource officer program, of which you know we have 2 resource officers, one at the middle school, one at the high school. To coordinate training and for our students and staff, to coordinate safety and security assessments. That assessment, I think I'll talk about that a little bit later. And coordinate the biennial tour of our schools and facilities with our local police and first responders. We're looking to schedule our first one of those next year. The safety indicatives, initiatives that we've been working on in the district for quite a long time. So starting in 2016, under Dr. Shirk's leadership, the district started to begin training the staff in ALICE protocols, which is national best practices when it comes to armed intruders and intruders. In 2017, and ALICE drills were conducted with the staff at the Pottsgrove Senior High School, and we started the Safe Schools Partnership. On the June 11th was our large active shooter training that took place with full police response. We included all of our staff. We had some staff that were actually students, and we utilized the high school, so the high school staff were placed obviously in their positions as teachers there. But we wanted everyone to experience at least the full experience as far as we had the armed intruder, we had response coming in from the police, and it was quite realistic. And we had a really good partnership with the police departments. We have 3 municipalities that obviously our district is made up of, and we also use the Montgomery County Department of Public Safety. And it's a great partnership that has existed to this day with all those organizations that have really helped us through a lot of our drills. Continuing from those dates, the district has begun to review all practices and procedures in the realm of safety and security. So this year, the report of things that we really worked on this year, the Safe Schools Partnership Committee in its second year, we just concluded, jump down to the bottom, our final meeting of the year with that committee. But that's been very productive. And what's come from that are some work that are done. We have 2 subcommittees. We have a health and wellness subcommittee and a security subcommittee. So those are the committees that actually do the work. We kind of report out to the large committee. So the Health and Wellness Subcommittee meeting we had on the 10th of December, and some of the results that came from that, we are working on post-event planning, which is planning designed around building resiliency for our students in the unfortunate incident, if we were to have a serious event here, how to get us back to at least a sense of normalcy so we can get back to teaching the students, which is what we do best. But there's plans that need to be put in place to try to get us to that point. If there's an event, it's quite disruptive to the educational process, and we're creating a plan to, if that were to take place, how to get us back to a place where we can have our students and staff feel safe and continue the educational process. We're also looking at our school-wide positive behavior support plans throughout the district, and we're pulling all the teams together this summer, and we're looking at restructuring all of our bullying, preventive bullying practices, all of the things that we do in the individual buildings really fall under the SWBS plan. The design behind the positive behavior supports in all of our buildings are to create positive citizens within the building, which is obviously something, if you're bullying, you're not being a positive citizen. So we're kind of trying to tie that all to our SWBS program, which is in all of our buildings. And we're going to create some unified practices and also restructure our website for our parents. We went through and looked at our bullying website, and it's very comprehensive, but it's also very difficult to navigate. So we want to improve that to give our parents and our students a resource when it comes to bullying. And our security subcommittee resulted in after-hours safety plans that we've developed. We have a plan that we're putting in place for all of our facilities users and those that rent our facilities. We're going to be giving them some protocols on how to deal with emergencies. They're going to get a phone number to contact district personnel. And they're also going to have to agree to assign a safety coordinator to anytime they're using the building, whether it's a basketball team that's practicing, there's going to have to be a responsible adult who, for that particular hour and a half, is designated their safety coordinator. Or whether it's a larger group that's practicing for a play, there's going to be somebody assigned as the safety coordinator. And that person is the one that's really going to be responsible for just kind of keeping their head on a swivel as we talk. Dr. Shark had mentioned before, you're always thinking of it. So we want that person, while they're doing that job, at least for that night, doesn't have to be the same person every time, That's in their mind. So we at least have one person that is there that is thinking about the safety of the event. And if something were to go wrong, we will give them protocols to follow, and again, a phone number to contact district personnel. Obviously, the first line of the protocol is dial 911. And as I said, we completed our full committee meeting on May 7th. The other fairly large initiative that took place this year came out of Act 44, which was the Safe to Say Something program. That was initiated on January the 14th. As it says up there, we had 42 incident reports. We're up to 45 now, so as of a few days ago, the number has changed to 45. It's been very impactful on many students in crisis, and really given us an opportunity to provide a lot of support to some students that needed it in the immediate. It had a substantial impact on our staff that deal with the reports as well, and we've talked about adding some resources to the budget to try to assist our buildings in dealing with some of these students in crisis. And it's really further highlighting the adolescent mental health issues that are across the state and the nation. It really is. It's been labeled epidemic across the country, and there's a lot of reasons for it that I'm not going to get into now because I'm not the expert, but there's a lot going on with mental health right now, and Dr. Shirk has really made that a point at our last committee meeting. He said that that's really the place we need to go next. So we're going to be looking at and exploring some options as far as some positive things that we can do for mental health initiatives in the district. Again, Dr. Shirk mentioned the layers of safety. We have the Social Sentinel. There's other layers that we have. We have Securely, which monitors all of our students' internet activity. So anything that goes through our system is monitored to make sure that there isn't anything that is accessible, that is inappropriate, and is not dangerous to our students. We talked about Social Sentinel. We also have Gaggle. Gaggle is something that was recently added. We have about a month's worth of data on Gaggle. Gaggle keeps a vigilant watch on all of the Google entries. So anything that a student would communicate to one another on Google, write in a Google Doc, it's evaluated. They actually have evaluators, so we don't get a lot of extraneous conversations from students. They go through it and then tell us when there's a concern. So we've actually had 125 incidents that were identified by Gaggle. Again, that was just in the last month. 8,000 items were reviewed, 125 incidents were discovered, and there's 3 classifications. The first is a violation that really comes down to perhaps student using bad language. That was the bulk of it, 98. We had some questionable content, meaning students were attempting to access sites they should not have been. And then we had one very serious situation involved a student. And that was just in 1 month. That allowed us, again, to provide that support to our student that was in need. So as Dr. Shirk talked about, we've got all these layers that we're trying to put in place to protect our students and provide support. And those are the big ones that we've been working on for this year. Drill updates. All the buildings obviously are doing their regular scheduled drill, their fire drills, their lockdown drills, their lockout drills, and weather drills. We did a large active shooter training, police in all the buildings. As I told you before, we did one that was individualized at the high school where we included all the teachers in that, either as students or teachers. We needed to then push that out to the buildings. What does it feel like in my own building? So all the teachers were in their own buildings. We again had an active shooter. We again had the police response, and we worked with our 3 municipalities, so the individual municipalities with which that school resides came and responded and handled that. So every teacher and every aide and all of the people that work in those buildings got the feel of it within their own building. They experienced it on the large scale at the high school, then we brought it back to their building. And we're really trying to take a step-by-step approach with it. We've talked about that a lot. Dr. Shirk's talked about it a lot, that we want to take these in steps and make sure that every time we take a step, we're perhaps increasing the rigor of it a little bit, but we're actually creating some muscle memory, if you will, on how are they going to react in a situation and how fast can they react to a situation. So the next step, obviously, we need to include our students. Originally, we were talking about, okay, we'll just take it to the next step and we'll have an intruder in the building. We took a step back and said, well, we took a step-by-step approach with the teachers and the staff. Maybe we should definitely do that with our students. We talked about how some of the students might react. So what we're going to do in May is have an intruder drill in every building. What will take place is the students will be in their classes, all the staff will be where they're going to be, and the principal is going to read a script over, basically saying we have an intruder in X hallway, describe the intruder. We're going to change this scenario here and there. I don't want to give too much detail of what it is, because I don't want to give too much of a preview for those that are going to be involved in the drill. But it's going to allow the students and the teachers to react to the situation, and that's what we want them to do. We keep telling them the only mistake is not doing something and making a decision and trying to do something. We can't have people just freeze. So we're going to give them opportunities to make some decisions, whether they're evacuating or if they're barricading in place. Those will also be with the assistance of our 3 local police departments who, again, I can't say enough about the partnership that we have with them and how positive things have gone with them and how encouraging they've been of us and how supportive they've been with us. Let's see. So the safety assessment, that was one of the things that was mentioned in Act 44. It was not mandated through Act 44, but everyone is really reading it as a very strong recommendation. So we had 2 of our folks, Steve Beck and Dean Miller. There are 2 folks from the Montgomery County Public Safety Office. We've worked with them very closely. So they did our assessment. They're doing many throughout the county. We're waiting to get the results of those. And once we do, that's a report that I will make to the board in executive session, because one of the other pieces of Act 44 is we can have security conversations in executive session when it presents an issue to present that type of information to the public where it could be counterproductive or give the wrong people maybe some wrong specific information. So that will need to be shared in executive session, because there'll be some very detailed things that come out of that report. We also were awarded two parts of a grant, PCCD grant I mentioned before. The first part of the grant, everybody that applied got $25,000. It was really not competitive. It was if you applied, you were going to get the $25,000. They opened up a second part. They called it Part B, which was competitive, where you had to put a lot more detail and give a little bit more explanation as to how you were going to use the funds. We received it. Not everyone did. There's a little consternation throughout the state. Mr. Nestor had mentioned it before, that there's some concern around the state that, just because someone may have done a better job on their grant, every student needs to be safe. So there's conversations around taking the competitiveness out of it and making it more of a block grant situation. But it was competitive this year. Unfortunately, we were able to secure some of that, and we're using that to offset some of the cost of our camera update project, our security camera update project, which is underway right now. I'm not doing well with this at all. There we go. So our plans for going forward, that's constantly what we're doing. We're constantly thinking and thinking how we're going to move this forward. One of the things that we need to do is more formalize our parent reunification plan and possibly have some drills around that. That means if there's an event where students have to be taken off site, if we need to get them to a safe location, we have to be able to get them back reunited with their parents. It's a very complicated process. It takes a lot of planning. We could do it now. I want to rest assured that we could do it. We do understand the bones of it, but we want to do a little bit more with some detail and perhaps try to drill it. We haven't figured out how we're going to do that yet, but Dr. Shirk and I are going to have some conversations over the summer and try to figure out if we can possibly come up with a plausible plan to drill that. We're going to obviously continue all of our normal drills. We're going to start the building tours with our first responders this year. We're continually self-assessing and monitoring our situation, and we're constantly looking for any other grant opportunities. There are some potential for some federal grant opportunities right now, and I'm exploring those as we speak. So that's really the plans for next year. So I hope to come back to you next year with the second annual Pottsgrove Safety and Security Update with some more positive and forward-thinking plans that we have to keep our students and staff as safe as humanly possible. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Harney. Any questions from the board regarding the report?
I did just want to clarify one point. That gaggle that you mentioned about where it's monitoring the students, that is district-given computers that they're working on, right? That's not their home computers, that's district computers that they're using.
Correct. If they're using our Google platform is where anything through our Google platform, which a lot of schoolwork is done on.
Right, okay. Well, thank you for that. It's very comprehensive. I know we heard it a couple of times. I know it was drilled into me in the military, you want to have defense in depth. We have our first line, we have all the different things that we do. We're constantly looking for additional ways to improve our security, filling in the gaps, looking for the vulnerabilities and constantly assessing those and looking for better ways to assess that. And that's why we're looking at, okay, we're adding this little program here, we added this one last month, and so on and so forth. We're looking for those things that are help. The big thing, obviously, is training the staff, training the administration, working with the police departments. And thank you very much for all the police departments, for all the help that you've given us and going forward, and the participation of the staff as well. This is something that this board takes extremely seriously. We all joined for various reasons, but one of them has always been about education, and that was the main goal. That's why we run for the board. That's why we serve on the board. But this security issue has become something that we have to deal with. It's something we have to recognize, and we're not going to bury our heads in the sand. We're not going to ignore it. We're going to be proactive, and we have asked our staff and our administration to be proactive, and they're doing those things. They come to us and they ask us, we want to do this. Does this make sense? We want to do this. Does this make sense? And we're continually telling them, yes, let's do that. Because, yeah, we have a policy committee, and we talk about bullying, and those are some of the things that maybe we do. But a lot of this takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of planning, a lot of discussion. And thank you for carrying that heavy load and for doing this thing that is going to make our community and our school that much safer. So thanks for the report.
I just want to say it's a team effort. We really have so many, everyone's jumping in, and I appreciate all the support from all the administrators and Dr. Shirk too, because everyone's really doing a great job together. Thanks.
Okay, moving forward to action items for personnel, 11.1. I ask the board to approve the administrative staff appointment as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from Ms. Grimm and Mr. Leach to approve the administrative staff appointment. Mr. Dargan, does anybody have any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. And congratulations.
Okay, moving forward to 11.2, professional retirements. We're asking the board to approve the professional retirements as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the professional staff retirements. Are there any questions, comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right.
Moving forward to 11.3, professional staff appointments. We're asking the board to approve the professional staff appointments as submitted.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve professional staff 11.3 to 11.8.
Second.
We have a motion to approve 11.3 to 11.6, right? Yeah, 11.8 to 11.6, a motion and a second. Are there any questions, comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right.
Moving on to action items for business, independent.
I'd like to make a motion on action items. That we approve 12.1, independent contractor agreement, 12.2, PTS therapy services agreement amendment, and 12.4, board and committee calendar.
No, 12.3.
Three, there's three.
Not to the board.
Oh, Power School agreement, I'm sorry. You should have just done it out.
Yeah.
Second.
12.1 of 12.3.
Second.
All right.
It's messing me all up here tonight.
Okay, we have motion and a second to approve agenda items 12.1 to 12.3, the different agreements. Does anybody have any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All right.
Moving on to 12.4, board and committee calendars. We're asking the board to approve the school board meeting calendar and school board committee calendar for the 1920 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the school board meetings and the school board committee meeting calendars for next year. Are there any questions? No? If not, then a motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. And you want to get your copies now so you can make your plans well in advance, so you can't miss a single one of these meetings.
Number 2 on Thursdays now.
Yes. 2 on Thursdays next week.
Moving on to 12.5, the MCIU Board of Directors. We're asking the board to approve the MCIU Board of Directors as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, very good. There's a copy of a memo there for you, if you would all go ahead and cast your ballots, sign them, and make sure you leave them in your folder so that we can get them. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
Moving on to 12.6, the board treasurer. We're asking our board to elect a treasurer for the 1920 school year.
I'd like to nominate Patty Grimm.
I second the nomination. Is there a motion to close nominations?
Motion closed.
Motion to close. We don't have to vote on that one, right? This is kind of almost ad hoc. We don't have to close the motion?
You ought to vote first on the closure of the motions, then go
Right.
back to the underlying.
Okay, very good. All right, a vote to approve the motion to close the nominations. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. We've closed nominations. Now then, all those in favor of voting for the single nominee, Mrs. Grimm, to stay and remain treasurer for the school district. All those, for the school board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, done, and congratulations.
Thank you. I like signing the checks. That's
Moving on to 12.7, the Western Montgomery Career and Technical Center budget. We're asking our board to approve the 1920 budget for our Western Montgomery Career and Technical School as presented.
so moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Western Montgomery County Career and Technology Center budget. Does anybody have any questions on the budget? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
Moving on to 12.8, budget transfers. We're asking the board to approve budget transfers for April 2019 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the budget transfers. Does anybody have any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
Okay. Mr. Leach?
I'd like to before I make the motion, though, I want to ask, did the facility have any issue with any of the next 4 items? Did they all come to agreement, all these expenditures?
Yes, we did.
I'd like to make a motion to combine 12.9 to 12.12.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve items 12.9 through 12.12. Does anybody have any questions on any of those items?
I'm curious, and when are we going to start with the tennis courts and the track refurbishing? Will that be over the summer?
Yes, the intent is to have it done by August 12th, so I was just waiting for approval tonight, so I can contact the vendor and start scheduling.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Very good.
Make a motion to combine 13.1 through 13.4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to combine items 13.1 through 13.4. Does anybody have any questions on those items? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
Moving on to 13.5, Act 158 graduation requirement. We're asking the board to approve the Act 158 graduation requirement and recommendations as submitted.
Second.
Very good. Are there any questions on the recommendation? All right. If not, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. I will just point out for the public that this particular action item, a lot of our work we do in our committees that may not be here that you see, but this has been going over for hours and hours. This has been a topic of discussion that we have seen and reviewed and hashed out and modified and come back again. So it's not as, yes, we're making a very short work of it here tonight, but there has been a great deal of work in it. So if you wanted to ask anybody that was on those committees or any of the board members, we'd be happy to explain exactly what all is involved in this and how we came to these decisions. So just wanted to pass that along.
And then I'll make a motion to combine 13.6 through 13.14.
All right, we have a motion and a second to combine motions 13.6 through 13.14, which all have to do with overnight trips, going all the way forward into the end of next year. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, one comment I'd like to make is I'm really proud of the indoor color guard. This is our first time that they came together, and they've done very, very well. So congratulations to them.
Very good. Congratulations. All right, any other questions, comments, worries, or concerns? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right, we'll now get our jock update.
Ready? Okay. The JOC, there's so much I could tell you. I could go on for hours of things that are going on. But the most important thing is we received our NOCTI scores back, and we're again at 94%. That's a huge, huge, huge accomplishment for our students and staff over there. I cannot say enough when I go over there and I witness and I see the students that not necessarily are the book students, but these are the kids that are feeling proud of, their choice on what they're doing. And we have like 18 different courses over there they could take. So with that said, congratulations to them. That's phenomenal. Proud to approve a brand new welding program. It's going to start school year 2021. Students' applications for this program will start October 1st, 2019. We did some research and found out that we want to get more into welding and manufacturing. We always try to look at what the future is going to offer for our students, whether we have to maybe look at our numbers that some programs aren't working, what's the future for our students. So we're always looking and moving, and it was approved for the welding program, so that's a huge success. I'm looking forward to that. We would like to recognize there were 7 students that were inducted into the National Technical Honor Society. There were 7 of them, 5 were Pottsgrove. Olivia Klaptoski, Alexi Knifer, surprise, isn't it, Alexi, right? Susquanna Simmons, Kyle Smith, and Allison Wedgehorst. I have requested that I would like for those students to come here, and we could show them our appreciation and congratulate them here at the home school. Let's see. Oh, here's a big one. Congratulations to Sierra Breitenarmer from Pottsgrove. She's a senior in the culinary arts. Sierra was awarded a full scholarship to Johnson and Wales University, a value of $128,000. So, again, I want everybody to see this student, meet the student, and I'm just so proud of these kids. It's when you see how hard they work all year, and they have to be bussed over here. Are they a part of this homeschool? Or are they not? They have found their niche, and they have already built their resume. They're on their path. And just like Alexi here, she's already an entrepreneur. I mean, she's already there. So then one other thing I did have is Lexi Yost. She graduated from 2019 from Pottsgrove and the Western Center, and she is a current student, Penn Tech student. She actually traveled to Churchill Downs and made desserts at the Kentucky Derby. So that was sweet. Upcoming dates, next Wednesday, May 22nd, is senior recognition at our middle school at 6:30. And May 29th, we will be starting new student orientation. Yeah, love that school.
And again, I apologize for beating a dead horse, no offense to Churchill Downs. When we talk about being a district of choice, one of the things we're talking about is helping every kid find their path, their way to success, their place of being a part of our community or a community wherever they go. And that path is different for everybody. So yes, we're very proud of our students who go on to college. We're very proud of our students who go into the military. We're also very, very proud of our students who go to the Western Center and that they're working to build their careers and their lives, and they've got a real leg up over a lot of other kids who don't figure out what they want to do quite as early as some of these students are. So thanks for sharing that with us. Very much appreciated.
One more thing I just remembered. We started a committee, so as we have a signing day, we're going to have one at the Western Center next year. So we're working on that now, too.
I'd like to combine 15.1 and 15.2.
We have a motion and a second from Mr. Leach and Ms. Grimm to combine 15.1 and 15.2 to approve the minutes from the different committee meetings. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Policy Committee, our chairman isn't here this evening. Would anybody care to report out?
Say a few outlines.
Okay, great.
.249 are bullying and cyberbullying. As Dr. Harney mentioned, this was a pretty big one for us. It stretched over at least 3 meetings. Keep current with PSBA, and then really a focus on reporting procedures and where the forms can be found for the students and the parents on the websites, the handbook, everything where that can be touched upon. A list of consequences at the end gives the district a little bit more latitude in consequences where we can suggest things or mandate it. This has been thoroughly reviewed by the counselors and the committee. The distinction made between a singular act, if severe enough, would fall under the bullying umbrella, so we have that ability to mandate that. The 201 admission of students, this is really just revised to fall more in line with district practice and to fall in line with our additional policies of when we can admit students and what grade they'll be in. Both of those policies were put in 30-day review. We went to policy 222 and 904. 222, not under 30-day review, about tobacco use. This is really brought up with how prevalent vaping has become and how we can really fall in line with, keep current with the times. So it's a strong step in the right direction with that. 904, public attendance at events. This also has to do with tobacco use and nicotine and their delivery systems. Then upcoming 204, attendance. We're going to discuss this further. Habitual use of classroom learning time. And 355, crowdfunding. It's becoming more of a fundraiser for different clubs and organizations, but technology creates some loopholes and makes it difficult for us to track things and put in a different account. So we're going to really lock in on that. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hutt. Any questions from Mr. Hutt? Okay, we'll go to facilities and ops.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, you all missed the opportunity before to participate in the budget, but I'm going to give you a little brief recap to just show you what you missed. Maybe next time you'll come out. We've been working through since January. I say we, really, this administration's been working through since January, even before, to look at our costs and to control them, because we're generally pretty tight-fisted. And what we've had last month when we talked, we were down to about 1.5% was where we expected to be for about where we were. We still had some things to come in and go out. And what we've been looking at now, and then what that boils down to is the amount of increased cost that we had this year is about $2.3 million. The majority of that is staff increases, salary rises, and the retirement benefits associated with the charter school tuitions, and some other things that we've done. We also added the French and the exploratory French language. We've added a teacher on special assignment for special ed. We're talking about a long-term sub, additional compensation for trained aides, and a crisis counselor. So all that came out to $2.3 million. They've been able to, through various efforts and additional revenues that we received and some other offsets that we've gotten, to offset all of that except for about $240,000. That would boil down to a tax increase of about 0.7%. Am I saying everything, Grover? Yeah, not in my head. Okay, just see, there's no strings. There's no strings. So about 0.7%. We have, over the past several years, those of you who've been following along, we have over the past several years been having ongoing discussions, and we've been really, really pushing the administration very, very hard. Over the past 4 years, for example, we've averaged a 0.24% tax increase. 0.24. We had 2 years at 0, another year at 0.5%, another year at 0.49. And so now this year we're looking at 0.7. All of those things we've been able to do because of a number of pleasant advantages that we've had. We've not only has it been great management on the part of our administration and staff, but we've had some other developments that have helped us to be able to offset costs as we've gone. So as prices go up here, we've been able to save money there. We were able to get a good agreement with all of our different unions and our teachers that has enabled us to hold costs going forward. Our staff helped us with our curriculum and our costs on what we were going to do for our curriculum for next year, and holding those prices down instead of buying all new, and how we did those things. So there have been these offsets back and forth. So here we are looking at a 0.7% increase. And as I mentioned, over the past 4 years, we've been doing that. So the question arises, where are we in comparison to some of the other districts around us? Well, very helpfully, Mr. Nestor was able to give us a list of most of the other districts in the area. There were a couple missing. But we're looking at, across the board, the index this year was how much? Was it 3% or was it just under?
It was 2.3.
Okay.
The adjusted index was 3.
Okay. The adjusted index was 3. When you start to look at the other districts around us, Colonial, for example, is looking at a 3.9% increase. We've got other districts 2.85, The average of the districts around us is 2.38, and we're sitting at a 0.7 right now. Now, there's only a small amount that we're likely to change between now and the budget day. But the obverse, the other side of the coin, is that's great. I would love to be able to just kick in a little bit more money, making it a 0 increase for the 5th year. The other side of the coin is all of the good things that have happened are not going to continue. We're not going to continue to get the positive assessments. We're not going to continue to get all of the good breaks that we've gotten. And so we start to think about what happens in a worst case, what happens in a bad case scenario, what can happen to us. Long story short is that we would like to, since our requirement is so low of 0.7, we would like to consider investing more of the public's money, building up our tax revenues a bit, not a lot. We're talking in the neighborhood of 0.3 to maybe 0.8%. So take it to maybe a full percent, maybe to a 1.5%, maybe something in the middle, 1.25. This is not to be onerous. This is not to be foolhardy. We're going to continue to manage the funds the way we've been managing them, but we want to be able to start building up our revenue base so that we're not caught short if something unpredictable happens. Obviously, we do everything we can to avoid that, but we have no control whatsoever over what happens with the charter schools and how many kids go there and what our costs are associated with that. Special education is constantly growing, both in numbers and in costs, because many of the processes that we have to put these children into to give them their best standard of care per the IDEA ends up being very, very expensive, 10 times, a significant number of times, at least 5 to 10 times what we're paying for a student with not special needs. So as the number and identification of those students rises and the cost of those, we know that there's going to be less and less ability to really predict what that's going to cost. So we're trying to give ourselves a little bit of a buffer. This has not been taken for motion. We have not decided on this. This is something we just talked about tonight. We're going to consider it. We're happy with the 0.7, but I think it's time for us to consider coming out of the very, very low numbers and making sure that we don't get hit with a very large number going forward where we have to take money out of our capital reserve to balance that up. Have I said everything correctly and as per? It's okay. All right. I'm sorry to make you all listen to me for so long, but I just wanted to get that out there because this is something that's important, and I do want the public to weigh in on this. As I said, I'm happy to talk to anybody for as long as they want to talk to me about it because I think this is the right thing to do. Yes, we want to save everybody money, but we're talking about for the average homeowner, we're talking about going from $32 to maybe $60, $50. Okay, yeah, you like $50. Okay, 50 is better. A year in increase at this percentage. So I think this is a very, very responsible thing to do, and I do not think it's going to have a hugely adverse effect on anybody in particular. So all those folks that are watching or are reading, please feel to weigh in. My name's right there. My number's in the book, so you can get a hold of me if you wish. In addition to that, we did go over some of the projects. I'm not going to go over that in any detail, but on all the projects that we had identified for this year, we're coming in anywhere from $5,000 to $32,000, I think I saw on one of the line items, under what we had projected for that cost. We set aside $2.2 million for capital improvements for this year, and so far all the projects that we've gone after, we've gone under the budget on. So thank you for that, Mr. Cardwell, and thank you very much, Mr. Nestor, for that. So that was what you missed at our very exciting Facilities and Committee meeting. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Did have a quick question.
Sure.
The quick question I had was, obviously, if we go to the 1%, we're going to have a surplus. Is the surplus going to be recommended, I guess, to go to capital or a different fund? Because obviously, if it goes to capital, you can't use it for anything but capital. I mean, you could always say you're buying a desk, whatever. What will be the suggestion then for the surplus?
First off, there won't be a surplus, okay? Because we're planning on using $900,000 of fund balance as part of this budget, part of our PSERS reserve. So it'll reduce that number. That being said, my recommendation would still be to continue to put seed money into the capital reserve so that we can continue to maintain our buildings and not have some significant failure that would cause us to go out and have the need to borrow money. That's the primary objective.
Okay.
But the capital reserve can also be used to pay debt service. So we always have. I'm not out of that.
Question, Mr. President?
We're that close to new business and public comment that I'll allow it.
Thank you, sir. Simply looking to know, David, how much money are we talking about at the low end, the 0.3, and how much money are we talking about at the high end, the 0.8?
When you're saying.
In terms of additional revenue to the district to create this cushion, if you will.
It will probably, the 0.3 will probably generate about $125,000.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Certainly. Okay, that was that. So now we're come to our favorite part, new business. This is where Dr. Shirk really shines. New business. Do we have anything for new business?
I'm going to pass Mr. Lindgren on new business tonight.
Really?
Yes.
Outstanding. Does anybody else have any new business they'd like to bring to the board's attention for this evening?
Yes.
Please.
It's something I brought up with the high school guidance counselors in the past. Just we're just going to leave that aside. And hearing you today talk about having next year's training committee for those students at the Western Center, and then you're talking about, our students that go on to college, the military, Western Center. We do have students that don't fit into any of those groups. And it would be nice if we could come up with some sort of job fair, whether it be for those students that decide that they're going to put college or military or some sort of trade on hold, look to make an income for a short period of time before deciding a path in life, or for those that decided that it's not for them and they want to go on. If we could maybe work on something, contacting businesses within a reasonable commuting time to talk to them about what opportunities they have, what they look for, so that we can maybe start to make sure that we don't leave anyone behind when we're trying to provide a future for all of our students. So, thank you.
Ms. Lappy, if I may, one of the things that that I've been working on as a subcommittee member of the Tri-County Chamber is we're looking at trying to a couple things, and Dr. Ziegler doesn't know this yet, but I think we're located. It's not just you're fine. It's two things. It's a job fair, okay, with all the members of the chamber. So we're 400 plus. Okay, so that's the job piece, and then there's the college and career piece that they've always supported. I think over the last couple of years they took it to Coventry Mall and just hasn't really been well attended. So I think that if it could be centrally located, I think of our gym, I think of our lobby going. I think that I would be willing to discuss that with the chamber and volunteering, using our facilities during the day, during the night, to use that as a community center, if you will, for college fairs and job fairs. So I am working on that piece. It hasn't come to fruition yet, but I think it's in the vision. I mean, I think we're closer. I don't think it's years away, and I think if people could pull it off within the next year, that would be something we'd definitely like to do as a chamber organization, because there's obviously over 400 employers, different opportunities, but they can't find good employees either. It's a win. It can be a win for us. I mean, to answer your question, the long story short, I think we have a shot at doing some job fairs and college and career pieces as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be able to offer a pathway for
Absolutely.
everyone.
Yep.
I think
Isn't there a job shadowing program? I think there is.
That's part of the new piece, Dr. Z?
That is part of the new piece. That is part of the new piece that would come into place next school year.
Are there? Go right ahead.
I had one little thing. I wanted to say thank you to those members of the PTSA and, of course, to Dr. Ziegler. Recently, they had the college and signing day. That went over very well from my understanding. I usually have a big sign, but unfortunately, I didn't get it from Pete this year. To show all the different colleges that all our students are going, and some of them have gone to some fantastic schools. So I want to say thank you to all the parents and obviously those involved with making sure that happens every year.
Anybody else? Anything else? No. If not, then we'll throw it open to public comment. Anybody else from our audience would care to have any comments? Nothing. Okay, hearing nothing, I will take a motion to adjourn. Always get more than one on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you for playing.